All right, this video is for Module 13. So this is talking about types of unemployment and the natural rate of unemployment. So the first thing that I did in class was show this short video from MGM Foodie on YouTube. I don't know who that is, but I like it because it is a quick synopsis of the different types of unemployment. You should have by now already read about types of unemployment in your book. So this is a quick kind of check and just a reminder of those types of unemployment. Couple things that I want you to do while you're watching this video. I want you to, number one, I want you to come up with your own definition of kind of a quick definition for frictional, structural, and cyclical unemployment. Number two, I want you to pay attention to examples of these types of unemployment according to the video. See if there's any others that stick out to you that you can think of. And then number three, this video, and I left it in here because this is a good discussion point. This video also talks about one other types of unemployment, seasonal unemployment. So I want you to be thinking about where would you put seasonal unemployment. Your book does not talk about seasonal unemployment, so where do you think it would fit within those three that the book does talk about? So yes, I am going to actually play this video within a video.
Now that we know the term unemployed means not working but seeking work, you need to recognize that there are different types of unemployment, some of longer duration and/or more serious consequence to the economy than others. Frictional unemployment is unemployment due to the natural frictions of the economy, which is caused by changing conditions and represented by, here's the most important part, qualified individuals with transferable skills who change jobs. Examples might include a short-term contract engineer who seeks a new position every 6 to 18 months as his or her contract expires. This person has the skills to move to a new contract position. Or what about a full-time college student who is not previously unemployed but starts interviewing for jobs? Once the student starts seeking work, he or she becomes part of the labor force. As long as he or she has the education and skills necessary to start a job, it counts as frictional unemployment. Frictional unemployment is typically of shorter duration than some of the other forms of unemployment. Structural unemployment is unemployment due to structural changes in the economy that eliminate some jobs and create others for which the unemployed are unqualified. One really good example that I can think of is from the 1990s when the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA for short, was passed. With the passage of NAFTA, the U.S. lost a lot of blue-collar factory-type jobs but gained white-collar jobs, say in computer programming or finance. Workers laid off from their factory jobs couldn't very well apply right away for a high-tech job. They would need to go back to school for a whole new type of training and education. Some who got laid off were older workers who were not interested in going back to school at all. Overall, structural unemployment is a longer-term issue than frictional unemployment. Seasonal unemployment is unemployment due to seasonal trends. For example, jobs related to a seasonal crop or a seasonal activity such as skiing or seasonal demand like at Christmas. Seasonal unemployment is periodic and predictable and can therefore be planned around. Cyclical unemployment. Unemployment due to contractions in the economy. The economy moves in cycles. When the economy does well, there are lots of jobs and unemployment is down. When the economy does poorly, there are fewer jobs and the unemployment rate goes up. The biggest problem with cyclical unemployment is that no two cycles are the same in terms of severity or length, so it's difficult to tell when jobs will come back. It could be a few months or over a year. In the case of the Great Depression, it was years before the economy recovered and jobs were created. Now that we've considered these four types of unemployment, think back to the second macroeconomic goal, low unemployment. Notice the goal is not zero unemployment, but rather low unemployment. Why do you suppose this is? One reason is that in a dynamic economy where labor is allowed to move freely from one job to another, or even one career to another, there will always be some amount of frictional unemployment. Similarly, the continual change that occurs in an innovative society means that there is always some structural unemployment. To eliminate these, you'd need to appoint each employee to a job, and that would be the person's job for life. Plus, you could never allow any underlying structural change like technological improvements. No, zero unemployment isn't the goal, but low unemployment is. How low? Well, the natural rate of unemployment, that caused only by frictional and structural factors, is our target. If we've achieved the natural rate of unemployment, we have full employment. Full employment is the condition that exists when the unemployment rate is equal to the natural unemployment rate. For many years in the U.S., the natural rate of unemployment was thought to be 5 to 6%, but then, with the unprecedented economic expansion of the U.S. economy in the 1990s, we experienced 4% unemployment without suffering any negative inflationary side effects. If we go much lower than this, though, companies would start competing to get workers by offering higher salaries and more benefits, which would in turn drive product prices upward, causing inflation. Next time, GDP.
Okay, so from that video, can you figure out frictional, structural, and cyclical? So pause the video right here, come up with your own kind of working definition. So if I gave you some examples of people that were unemployed, would you be able to tell if they were frictionally, structurally, or cyclically unemployed? Also come up with some examples that will fit each type of unemployment. And lastly, I want you to think about that seasonal unemployment. Where do you think they would fit? So pause the video, see what you can figure out, and then play it again. Okay, so frictional unemployment. You should have had something in there about caused by time to find a job. Actually, I should also include in there that this is also having to do with having the skills. You have the skills for the job. It just takes time to be able to find a job. So, for example, you could talk about looking for a job after graduation, so a college graduate. Structural unemployment, on the other hand, is people that don't have the skills for the job. It says there aren't enough at current wages due to skills oftentimes. And so what happens is that your book talked about structural unemployment is oftentimes caused by increases in the minimum wage or efficiency wages or labor unions. And basically in all of those cases what happens is that when, for example, the minimum wage increases, we already know minimum wage is a price floor, it's above equilibrium, and so what we have happening is that we have people out there that want a job that can't get it, but it's in a specific field because we know that not all jobs are minimum wage jobs, and let's be honest, minimum wage jobs kind of have low skills. So what we have happening is we have people out there that want a job in minimum wage jobs that can't find one. So structural is all about that they don't have the skills in the areas that are out there. So examples of this could be like factory jobs. For example, when a factory closes, they need a new job, but if they don't have skills other than those factory skills, they're going to have a hard time finding a job, and they're structurally unemployed. Lastly, cyclical unemployment is caused by a downturn in the economy, i.e., this is the big R, recession. So cyclical unemployment is definitely caused by recession. So no jobs during a recession if a particular type of industry is not in high demand during a recession. So for example, travel industry. When there's a recession, people don't generally travel. So those people that are in the travel industry will usually suffer as a result and lose their job just because there's not people that are buying in that area. All right, so hopefully those help with the types of unemployment. Now I wanted to talk about the natural rate of unemployment. So the natural rate of unemployment, as the video mentioned, is this normal rate of unemployment that results from when you just have structural and frictional unemployment. So these are fluctuations in people's employment. The natural rate of unemployment, for example, this woman says, we'll work for $80K per year, 401K, 3 weeks vacation, and medical. Okay, obviously she has some specific things on her list of what she's looking for in her next position. So even if we assume that she has the skills, okay, she's going to be frictionally unemployed. That's okay. Sometimes it takes time for this woman to maybe find the job that she is actually qualified for and that she is looking for and fits all of her basic needs. That's included in the natural rate of unemployment. So the natural rate of unemployment does fluctuate over time, but currently it is at 5.3%. So 5.3%, that's right now including frictional and structural unemployment. So this slide I have to show you is a comparison of the natural rate of unemployment, which is the red line, compared to the blue line. The blue line is the unemployment rate for those given years. Obviously, it's a slightly old graph. I try and get as close to current times as possible. This is the closest I got. So This gives you a kind of a picture. So here's the question is that look at the red line. The red line does actually change over time. Why does it change? Well, there's a couple of things that are happening here. Is that number one, for example, from the late 90s to the early 2000s, the natural rate of unemployment has been steadily dropping. What's been going on during that time period, for example, that would make it easier and quicker for people to be able to find a job? Think about it. During the late 90s, early 2000s, I can find a job a lot easier by going on the internet, right? So there's a ton of job websites. Before the late 90s, those things didn't exist. So as a result, it was a lot harder to find a job. You had to go and hit the pavement. You had to go pounding on doors and knocking on doors and asking people for favors. Who's hiring out there? It's hard to find. Now it's a lot easier with job websites. So that lowers the natural rate of unemployment. This spike right here, this could probably be explained by what was going on during that time period. So notice the difference here between the natural rate and the actual unemployment rate. That's a huge difference. So if our natural rate of unemployment is going to be frictional and structural, what explains the difference between these two lines? If you said cyclical, you would be right. Cyclical unemployment is what's happening here, and that's why there's a huge difference. And anytime the blue line is above the red line, you can bet that that's cyclical unemployment. Now, going back to my reasoning of why my natural rate of unemployment spiked here, well, what do we have happening? We had a recession that was going on during this time period. There's a lot of people that were unemployed. And here's what happens is that when people are unemployed, provided that they have paid into the system, they pay taxes and things, what happens is that as long as they're not unemployed through no fault of their own, they can claim unemployment benefits. And they can claim unemployment benefits for 12 weeks normally. During this time period, however, we saw such a huge spike in the unemployment rate, and there just wasn't a whole lot of jobs out there, cyclical unemployment, because of the recession. So as a result, there's people that were they were being unemployed for a lot longer than 12 weeks. So 12 weeks wasn't going to cut it. So as a result, what does the government do? They go and extend unemployment benefits. So they extend unemployment benefits to help people, but at the same point in time, that also will sometimes discourage people from finding a job. Case in point, I'll tell you that I have a friend who was unemployed for a while. She was going to be collecting unemployment, and then she got offered a job, but the job was part-time. So the unemployment benefits that she was getting was based on her last full-time job. If she took the part-time job, she would no longer qualify for unemployment benefits, and the unemployment benefits would pay more than her part-time job. So what do? Do you go and take the part-time job, hoping it turns into full-time, or that you keep looking? Or do you stay at unemployment benefits and keep looking for a full-time job? That's a conundrum. I can tell you from my friend, she took the part-time job, and she hoped that it turned into a full-time job. While it didn't at that particular location, she was able to find a full-time job in the next 2 years because she maintained her skills at her part-time job. So it's kind of a conundrum. Hopefully this helps explain the natural rate of unemployment. Let me know if you have any questions.